There, Victor Bras, speaking to you, Anarchist artist. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the twin evils of statism and religion. And by religion, in this case, I mean theistic, supernatural religions. Okay, not Buddhism or some other secular religion. I mean theistic religions when I say the twin evils of statism and theistic religion. Why I think that they're both false and evil is something I'd like to tear into a little bit. Okay, now when you look at either concept of God or government, we have to start from the metaphysical base that neither exists. Okay, neither exist. They are arbitrary, subjective constructs that have no referent in physical, tangible, empirical reality. They are words that really denotes nothing tangible, nothing empirical. It's a lot of arbitrary, made-up, subjective stuff. They are, in that sense, they are constructs because they're so convoluted with a lot of adjectives and disconnected ideas and elaborations and juxtapositions and extrapolations. And the conceptual chain goes up, but when you try to go down the conceptual chain of all the verbiage and you get to the roots, you'll find that there's nothing based on empiricism. Okay, like let's flesh this out. What I'm talking about here, God. What is that? God. It's a word. Okay, what the characteristics that they give this being, and even calling it a being is begging the question. It's like, what is it? Well, it's a supernatural being that exists out of time and can't be seen by any of the five senses. You have to take it on faith, and okay. So this is a thing that exists objectively, like in the world. I mean, no. I mean, what's the difference between the concept of God and non-existence? Okay, let's define non-existence. You come to God. Okay. So, and that goes with the, it's pathetic, man. Very pathetic. And you have to take that with the term government. Now, this at least has some more pretense or semblance to reality, because when we say government, I mean, people tend to think of the dome-covered white buildings and or whatever, not just limited to the United States, but you get the idea. Fancy buildings, people in suits, or other types of various showbiz costumes. But it's all propped up, though. It's all this. People have this idea that government is some kind of supernatural entity that has its own life, separate from the people who are merely the aggregates of the concept. I mean, you see this in the language when people talk about, with the Obama debacle or whatever type of unraveling dictatorial police state government, is that when things go awry, people will accuse the current power elite as having hijacked the government. What does that mean? Hijacking the government. People who've hijacked the government. What the fuck does that mean? It's not like the people are over here and then there's this abstract called government that has its own reality. Those people are the government, okay? Obama and his henchmen are the government. It's not a separate abstract entity over here. There's nothing to hijack. So that's where you have, God and the government as some kind of supernatural entities. Now, when you get down to it, though, the power elite, where is the actual... A lot of people tend to think of government, like I said, as some kind of overpowering entity that dwarfs the individual, and the mass of the population is helpless before this omniscient, omnipotent, powerful entity called government. And they think that the anarchists, for preaching against it or thinking that it can go away, is completely loony, because they're talking about God Almighty. They're talking about like little, as if you're Rush Limbaugh and you're standing before an ant. I mean, who are you going to hedge your bets on? Who's going to kill who, right? And that's what people have the idea towards government as being this power that just cannot be competed with, and it's just the individual is helpless before it. And to get to that state of being resigned and cynical, I mean, that's sad. That's fucking sad. And why it's sad is because the government, as powerful as it is, when you consider the small handful of people that make up the government, whether it be the hierarchical link of the upper echelons, the ruling elite, and all the way down to provincial and city officials and whatnot, and including the industrial military complex. Yeah, it's these people have the guns and the weaponry. I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of power there, but where does the real power of the government come from? What gives the government this awesome, almost omnipotent power? And that would be the moral and intellectual sanction that the population gives it. That's the power that it has. Yes, they have the guns and the weapons and things like that. It's all real. But when you think about just how small this handful of people are who make up the government, quote-unquote government, the population, by comparison, matches them by millions. By millions. So how do you subdue an entire population to be complicit and submissive to this power? It's through the power of propaganda and the manipulation and preempting of morality, because people feel that it's a moral necessity. Sometimes the language gives them away, and they realize what they're acknowledging in government, and they call it a necessary evil. Sometimes the word, the language gives you away. It's like a Freudian slip. Whoops, I admitted it was evil. But it's necessary. Yeah. So I mean, people have been fucked into these ideas, and they're false. They're not real. They're just human conventions. They're just ideas, and they're very bad ideas too. I mean, God is watching you, ramming this type of propaganda and down kids' throats, where you're presenting as unalterable, incontrovertible facts. It's not a fact, God. It's there. All the evidence goes against it. It's not fucking incontrovertible. And neither is the government. It's not a fucking holy sacrament. It's just a dumb idea. And the philosophical roots has its origins in brutality. That's how the fucking government started. It was a bunch of Paleolithic or Neanderthal cavemen. I can't pronounce that word. Neanderthal. Yeah. Who clubbed another group over the head and said, hey, we're running the fucking show here. I mean, that's the roots of government. And later on, gods, religions, and governments became all dressed up, and we have these symbols, and we have these parades, we have these costumes, we have confetti, we have anthems, we have people in costumes. we gotta dress it up so to distract people from the rapid bullshit that it is, and the violence that's at the root of it. We got to disguise it, got to hide it all away, with a lot of fancy distractions. It's not all the fucking propaganda and compulsory schooling indoctrination, or what the fuck Charlie Sheen is doing, and what's Jerry's final thought is. We don't see the fucking violence that's right at our fucking doorstep, and it's finally, in the ensuing collapse, is going to bite us on the fucking ass. But I don't want to say I told you so. I'll just say Victor Pross, Anarchist Artist, signing out. Pop goes the culture.